Texas A&M takes on Yale. The winner will get the winner of Michigan and UC San Diego. This pod is going to be an incredibly entertaining pod of the NCAA tournament. Last year we saw Yale and a lot of players on this team and this head coach beat an SEC team that went on to be the number one overall seed a year later. Jedi Broom was on that team. He got packed up by Yale last season. They're going to try and do the same this year without Danny Wolf, but still with a very good basketball team that won the Ivy League against the Texas A&M team that we know can go through a dry spell at any point, can also punk you physically for 40 minutes, and just beat Auburn just a couple weeks ago. So let's start here. Where do you think A&M is coming into this game at, like mentally, emotionally wise?
I think they're feeling just a bit. Actually, no. I was gonna come in here and say like they're feeling somewhat down, kind of given how because they lost to Texas, right? Correct in the SEC tournament. Yeah, they lost to Texas in two overtimes. In a game they probably feel like they kind of should have won. Had some breakdowns late, but I think there's a world kind of where this Texas A&M team is actually refocused coming off that loss and not necessarily feeling down on themselves. So I think that mentally they're going to be in a good space here.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. It's an A&M team that can be hard for me to fully get behind, but anytime I'm not behind them, I regret it, if that makes sense. Like, because they are so capable of just delivering a flat performance simply because they can't make a shot from anywhere. I mean, this is one of the worst offensive teams at the high major level ever. I mean, not from an overall profile, because they end up with the 44th best offense. It's entirely because they get to the free throw line, and it's entirely because of second chances. They're in the red in everything else. They're in the 300s basically in every other possible shooting category offensively. They turn the ball over a ton. They can't shoot. They shoot 31% from three, 48% from two. They're not even like great finishing. They're not even a good free throw shooting team. They just get there a ton. So they assert their will physically, but that lends itself to games where they just go completely cold. And I think you go through a lot of their losses this year, Cart. It's just games where they go completely cold. I mean, they scored 54 points on the road against Mississippi State, scored under 70 against the Kentucky defense, against Texas's defense, 61 points against UCF this year. It is just a team you can't really trust offensively. But what you can trust is they're going to outwork you for 40 minutes and nothing's going to come easy.
Yeah, I mean, this team is number one in offensive rebounding. I mean, the percentage is crazy. They rebound 42% of their misses. That's one way to kind of push back on the fact that you are one of the worst shooting teams from anywhere at any time. Um, and it works, and they've been doing that for years now. How they're physical, they get to the free throw line. Um, it is truly a hard nosed kind of bite the floor type of team. And look, usually in these matchups, just historically speaking, I don't lean on that type of physicality and that type of playing style hurting them or hurting a team against like an Ivy League opponent or something like that. Am I in the wrong spot when I kind of think that way?
No, I don't think so. I don't know.
Just because for me, this Yale team, and we saw this Yale team earlier in the year. They went on the road at Mackey, and they played Purdue really, really tough in that basketball game. They were in that game. They had Pulikitis too, which I don't think anyone. I feel like we haven't spoken on that yet, but like that guy is a March killer. Like he's made to do this and have a massively large game. I just don't know if that's gonna come against this Texas A&M team.
Yeah, so I think this is a point that it is worth keeping in mind often when you're trying to handicap the NCAA tournament. I think just because a team's profile says they're good at something doesn't mean that it's going to apply to a specific game. And that is my fear for Yale because Yale is an objectively good rebounding team. They are 22nd in defensive rebounding in the country. They are 79th in offensive rebounding in the country. They're 44th in 2 point defense. That's great. Against Ivy League opponents, they've been dominant on the boards. They played Purdue in that game in Mackey you talked about, and this is honestly, I think, an accomplishment for Yale. They had the exact number of rebounds that Purdue had in that game, 31 rebounds each side. Purdue only had 5 offensive rebounds against Yale. So against a Big Ten opponent, okay, you held up well. The problem with that is that Purdue is an awful rebounding team.
Right.
Purdue was just bigger than Yale. TKR wasn't at a size disadvantage in the Purdue Yale game, and like Braden Smith had 9 rebounds as a point guard. Miles Colvin and Cam Heide had 5 and 6 rebounds in that game.
Mhm.
So I don't think that's going to hold up at all. And I think that's a huge part of who Yale is a team that just doesn't get dominated on the boards, is about to get dominated on the boards. And what's their response to it, right? Because it kind of becomes one of those things if one of the two things that I do well just doesn't work in an NCAA tournament game, then what? Like, it's not like Yale's going to magically start forcing a bunch of turnovers defensively to combat this.
Mhm.
So, like, is their plan basically entirely hinging on let's just make a bunch of threes?
I think it has to be, given that they're a top 10 team in the country shooting percentage wise. It literally has to be we got to bomb, and we got to make threes against this Texas A&M team because Texas A&M, we have seen this team also. There's been games that they have not dominated the glass like they think they're going to, and they struggle because they cannot hit shots. So, I mean, obviously there's as much as like putting an emphasis on rebound as you want. Everyone does that against Texas A&M. They still get the ball back every single time because this team is relentless going to the glass. But if you can withstand that and you can hit threes, I mean it's there for the taking because we know that Texas A&M offensively, outside of the offensive rebounding, doesn't really offer much.
Yeah. Yeah, here's the fear game script wise for me as someone who thinks A&M is probably going to win this game. Um, Yale is going to just be super conservative defensively. Like that's what they do. They're not a good defensive team. They're only 117th defensively in adjusted efficiency. They don't force turnovers, like I said. They give up a lot of 3 pointers because their scheme defensively, Cart, is to just go way under on everything and basically let teams shoot and then rebound. That's what Yale does. So the scary part for that to me is Wade Taylor and Zurich Phelps are going to be baited into wide open threes the whole game.
Mhm.
They are going to take them and they might shoot 2 for 30 from three. That's the whole, I think, whole formula here. And it will come down to one, do they make them? Two, who gets the rebound? Is it Yale, who's good defensively, or is it Texas A&M, the best offensive rebound team in the sport for 2 straight years? I still think A&M is probably just going to beast them. That's my gut feel here. You think last year when Yale beat Auburn, respectfully, Danny Wolf was their center, who's been the best rebounder in the Big Ten this year.
Mhm.
So you had a high major big rebounding. Nick Townsend is your defensive rebounder this year. It's not
Right.
the same against A&M.
Right. They're more they when Danny left, I think they made more of a shift, I think, to leaning into offense more than anything. And I think the defense and the defensive rebounding, though good, like you said, is just not at the high major level of Texas A&M. And also to your point, as much as there's a chance that those guys go 2 for 30 for three, there's also like a chance they both combine to hit like 7 threes or something like that. Like they're capable for sure. They're just very streaky. But if you're gonna go way under, they'll probably take them, and if they miss them, they're probably gonna get it back. And I would bet on that happening more so than not happening.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at too. I really do. Um, Only thing we haven't mentioned that matters big time to me. Pool party. John Poulus. Put the trunks on. This guy's my favorite shooter to watch in the country. I adore him. Big game John, as I call him. He has a clutch gene. He has shot making shit to him. He will basically make a mean mug stink face at you every time he hits a three. And there's something about him, Cart. He did this in the Auburn game last year, where he's a great shooter as is across all games, but he almost likes the moment.
Yeah, he
He
does.
he waits for it. And there were times in Yale's Ivy League tournament run these last two games where like he was getting open threes and would almost like kind of hesitate or just not make them, whatever. And then all of a sudden, like, oh shit, Cornell cut it to two. We're only up two with a minute left now. Here's a step back fadeaway, and I'm turning to your bench after. And he always hits that shot. He hit it against Auburn last year. He hit it in the tournament. He loves and craves that shit. He was hitting shots like that against Purdue and Mackey earlier. So I think the one reason for hope for me for Yale would be this. If it's Poulikitis versus Wade Taylor in a shot making contest, I'll take Poulikitis comfortably. Is that
Mm.
crazy?
I actually don't think that's crazy at all. I do not think it's crazy at all because actually that might be crazy because we do have like a little bit of data here that Wade Taylor can have big tournament games with like big time shot making as well.
He's had some great ones for sure.
Yeah, but it's closer than you think. It's a discussion.
I feel like Poulikitis has to give them a huge game to have a chance. Whereas Wade Taylor, if he gives them a huge game, it's a blowout. Is that fair?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, if Koulikitis does not, I don't even know what to hit the number at. If he doesn't hit six threes, I feel like it's got to be up there. I don't know if they win or have a chance.
Yeah, I agree. Um,
Wait,
last question for me,
what's his name again? G?
Big Game John,
Yeah, what's his last name?
Poulikitis.
Yeah, come on, man.
Come on,
Come
crazy.
on.
Uh, this is just a selfish question. I don't need to ask you this on the preview, but I'm curious about it now. Do you think these Yale players want Danny Wolf?
Yes.
Like they do, because Poulikitis could have gone places. Bez Umbang could have gone places.
They could have ran this back. They could have ran that team back, and they would have been really, really effing good this season.
Would have been nasty. Still are very good.
But look, like this team has Danny.
And the reality, like just multiple starters on this team could have done what Danny did. Could have gone
Mhm.
elsewhere. And instead we're like, no, F this. We're coming back. And that's sitting there, right? Like the Yale Texas A&M, I believe, is played before Michigan is. Yeah, this is the early game. So like, I don't know. Michigan could lose anyway. But I do wonder if there's something with these Yale guys of just like, get me to Danny. I want to see him. And as a Michigan fan, I'd be entertained by it, but I kind of think that's how they're wired.
Yeah. Also, don't you want Yale?
I desperately want Yale.
So, so it worked out for everybody.
A Yale win would be huge for morale in my household, that's for sure. All right, let's get to predictions. Let's use the KenPom line. KenPom says A&M by 8. What do you got?
My heart, my initial reaction is eight's a lot, which means that it's not actually a lot. I'm just stupid.
I'm
So I'll take Texas A&M to win and cover.
going to take A&M to win. I don't know how they answer the boards, and I would probably bet a Yale cover just because I expect Poulikitis to be great, as he always is. But he could be great, and they could still lose this game. Go Yale.